Hi, ẹ káàbọ̀ sí ètò tòní. Welcome guys to today's meeting. I'm so excited to see you. Thank you for joining us from wherever you're joining from. Ẹ káàbọ̀ ní ẹ̀kan sí. Ẹ káàbọ̀ níbikíbi tí ẹ bá ti ń wò wá. Lénìí, a fẹ́ sọ nípa bí a ṣe ń kọ́ àwọn ọmọ wa ní Yorùbá. Welcome guys, welcome. Today we'll be talking about how we can teach our children to speak the Yoruba language. But before we go, I want to know where you're joining us from. Mo fẹ́ mọ̀ bí tí ẹ ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Lénìí, ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ bí tí ẹ ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Mo fẹ́ kẹ́ fi sínú comment section bí tí ẹ ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lénìí, ibi tí ẹ ti ń wò wá, ibi tí ẹ ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Welcome again. If you've not met, my name is Odunayo. I am a language advocate and also a course creator. I created a course called Yoruba Speaking Made Easy, where I help children to learn Yoruba, taking them from not speaking Yoruba at all to conversational fluency. Okay, so if you are here, let me know where you are joining us from. I'm so excited to have you. I'm so excited that you've decided out of your time to join us in today's live session. Welcome once again. I want to know where you're joining us from. Welcome. While we're waiting for other people to join, let's do a recap of what we've done in the last 2 weeks. We started this live session by teaching us the benefits of teaching our children to speak the Yoruba language. The benefits of teaching our children to speak the Yoruba language. We talked about the identity we give them as Yoruba speaking children. Okay, we talked about the community we're going to give to them, the connection, the sense of belonging. We talked about that. That's one of the benefits of teaching your children to speak the Yoruba language. We talked about the opportunities, employment opportunities that your children can have because they speak the Yoruba language. Okay, we talked about the language not dying with you, because that's another thing. If you don't teach your children to speak the Yoruba language, there's no likelihood that they're going to teach their children and the language will die with you. We talked about not having any sense of regret. I've seen parents saying that, oh, I wish I taught my children how to speak Yoruba. Or I've seen even adults, grown-up adults saying, oh, I wish my mom taught me Yoruba. So not to avoid this regret at all, there's a need for you to teach your children Yoruba. That was our first session and the first Sunday of this month. Okay. Last week, Sunday, we talked about mistakes we make as parents. We talked about the thinking that your child is going to learn the Yoruba language simply because you speak Yoruba around my children. They're going to pick it up naturally. And that was a mistake most of us make as parents. Okay? And another thing we talked about is allowing your children to respond to you in English. You speak Yoruba to your children and they respond to you in English, and you allow them. If you continue to allow them, they're going to become passive learners. They're going to be passive speakers. They will just understand what you are saying. They will not be able to speak back to you. They will just understand the Yoruba language you're speaking to them without having to speak, without knowing how to speak to you. So there's a need for you as parents to give opportunities, give avenues for your children to learn and to speak the Yoruba language. So we talked about making excuses for your children. You see people say, my child does not like Yoruba, so I've left him alone. You see people making excuses for their children and say, my children cannot learn at this stage, And I made an illustration that what if you have to travel to somewhere? I gave an illustration of Brazil, that if your children are asked, you and your children are asked to come to Brazil, and that you have to learn the language, your salary will be $20,000 per month. Will you not learn it? So that is it. We give our children the right motivation, they will learn. So we talked about you two having a wrong mindset. I've seen people say, I need a community, I need the whole village, I need, because I'm not in Nigeria, or because I'm outside Nigeria, or because they don't teach them in my school, the wrong mindset that I cannot do it by myself. I need a lot to teach my children. And I feel that that's not always true. You can teach your children with the right resources, with the right professional help. you can teach your children that language. Okay, so we talked about so many mistakes we make as parents, we talked about the benefits. So today we're going to another topic, and I'm excited because this is how I've seen parents asking me, how do I teach my children? How do I teach my children? What am I supposed to do? What do I have to do? So if you are here, I need you to know, I need you to write in the comment section, I need to know the how. I want to know the how. I want to know the how, or you just simply put how. That's what we're talking about today. Tips on how to teach our children to speak the Yoruba language. Tips on how to teach our children to speak the Yoruba language. That is what we're discussing today. So if you are here, put it in the how section, say how, just put it in the comment section, how to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language. Speak the Yoruba language. That's what we're talking about today. How to teach, the tips we need to teach our children. I've seen parents come to me and say, oh, I want to teach my children to speak the Yoruba language, but I don't know how. So today we're talking about the how. So if you are here, put it in the comment section. How. Okay? So that is what we're teaching today. The first tip is know your why. Know your why. Why do you want to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language? Kí nìdí tó fi kọ́ ọmọ ní Yorùbá? Kí nìdí? Why do you want to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language? Why? Why are you particular about your children learning to speak the Yoruba language? The first thing you have to know is to know your why. As a parent, there's a need for you to know your why. Why do I want to teach my children to speak the Yoruba language? Why do I want to teach my children to speak the Yoruba language? It's been said that if the purpose of the thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Abuse is inevitable. So there's a need for you to know how to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language. Okay? For me, my why, because the first why is that I don't want my children growing up without learning to speak their language, without having the identity, without the community that is being given to them. The second reason for me is that I don't want the language to die with me. If I don't teach my children to speak Yoruba, there's no likelihood that they're going to teach their children to speak the same language. You know? So there's a need for you as parents to know your why. If you are here, you can put it your why. Let me know what your why is. Why do you want to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language? Why do you want to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language? You know? So if there's a need for you to know your why as a parent. If you don't know your why as a parent, it will be difficult for you to teach your children. So I started by knowing my why as a person. One of my reasons for teaching my children Yoruba is that they teach them other languages in school, but they don't teach them Yoruba. So if I don't teach them Yoruba, that Yoruba language is gone. I won't have a moral justification that my children can speak Spanish, but they cannot speak Yoruba. For me, I won't be proud of myself that my children can speak Yoruba, cannot speak Yoruba, but they can speak Spanish. I won't be proud of myself that my children can speak French, but they cannot speak Yoruba. So there's a need for, that is one thing, one of the benefits why I'm teaching my children to speak Yoruba, for my own, you know, my own pride. I want to be able to say, my children can speak Yoruba. The second one is the identity I'm giving to them, you know, the sense of belonging. That I cannot take away from them. They always meet Yoruba people, they always speak to Yoruba people. I should be able to give them that sense of connection. It's a gift I'm giving to them. It's a gift I'm giving to my children if I can teach them to speak Yoruba. So that is my why. And you need to know your why, because to remind yourself that sometimes you get tired, that sometimes you'll be tempted to give up. So but if you have a why, you're able to say, oh, this is why I'm teaching my children Yoruba. It will help your commitment and your persistence. If you don't teach your children, if you don't know your own why as a parent, it will be difficult for you to teach your children to speak the Yoruba language. Because even you as a parent, you'll be tempted to give up. It takes commitment to teach your children Yoruba, even at this stage, because we don't have so many resources, you know, schools don't teach. So you must know your why, so that you'll be committed to this course. So you may have the persistence to follow through. Having said that, another reason why you must know your why is that if you know your why, you're able to communicate it to your children. My daughter keeps asking me every day, Mommy, why are we learning Yoruba? Why are we learning Yoruba? And I keep telling her my why. If I don't teach you Yoruba, there's no likelihood that you're going to teach your children. The language dies with me. So I tell her that if I don't teach you Yoruba, you don't need, the language dies with me. You will not teach your children. The likelihood of you teaching your children is very slim. So another reason is, and speak Spanish and they cannot speak Yoruba, you know, so that they can speak Spanish and they cannot speak Yoruba. I don't want that situation for them. Another thing is that I'm giving them the sense of belonging, you know, the sense of belonging that they are Yorubas and they will always be Yorubas. They should be able to strike a conversation anywhere they get to, in a Yoruba speaking environment, or when they meet someone that can speak Yoruba, they should be able to strike a conversation and be able to maintain a conversation, know what this person is saying, be able to say to the person whatever it is they want to say to that person. Okay, so if you have a why, you're able to communicate it to your children, and if your children are grown up, you are grown enough, they're like adults or some teenagers, adults, or people that can really talk, you know, they can tell you their own reasons too. In my program, the course we run, Yoruba Speaking Made Easy, about teenagers telling me, oh, I want to be able to talk to my parents without anybody know what I'm saying. I have some Yoruba friends, maybe in church, and I want to be able to communicate with them in Yoruba. So let them, if your children too, if they are grown, ask them about their why. There's a need for them to know why they are learning this language. So, because if the reason is given, if the purpose is known, it will be easier to follow through. You have a reason to be committed to it. You have a reason to be persistent. Okay, having said that, let's go to the second reason, which is to pick a strategy. Pick a strategy. That is another thing. There's a need for you as parents, if you want to teach your children how to speak in the Yoruba language, you must pick a strategy. What strategy do you want to use? What strategy do you want to use? Okay, so you have strategy. The first strategy, like I call the first strategy, is one person, one language. In a family, you may choose to say, oh, I'm going to teach my children to speak the Yoruba language. Like when I started, I was the only one on board. My husband wasn't even keen. I used to joke with my husband that he's the Caucasian daddy, and me, I'm the Yoruba mommy, you know? So I started teaching my children. I was determined to teach them the language. So I was the only person teaching my children, and I told them, if you want anything from me, that's my own strategy. You must say it in Yoruba. So my children can be, my husband and I can be sitting together. My children come to me and they ask me, Mommy, mo fe orange juice. Mommy, mo fe mommy. And they talk to my husband and speaking in English to him instantly. I don't mind. That was the strategy I started with. One person, one language. If you're on board, if your husband is not on board, start. As we said last week, we talked about the mistake we make. We think that we need your whole world to help us. No, you alone can do it. If you're here and you're watching me, that means you want to learn. You want to, you want your children to speak the Yoruba language. Bola from Ife, I see you. Thank you for joining us. I'm grateful for having you. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so we're talking about the tips on how to teach our children, the tips we need to teach our children. So we talked about to know our why. Now we're talking about the strategy. Pick a strategy. It could be one person, one language. When I started, I picked a strategy. My husband wasn't on board when I started. It was only me. I decided I was going to teach my children the Yoruba language. One person, one language. It's fine if my children can speak Yoruba and they speak English to my husband. I don't mind. But now my children switch. My last child is 3. She came to meet me and said, Mommy, I can speak both Yoruba and English. Mommy, mo le sọ Yoruba àti English nítorí Yorubanimi. So I started with just my children. I started one person, one language, and one person, one language strategy. Your strategy could be your family strategy. Because, oh, okay, in this family, we're going to speak Yoruba. That we're going to speak Yoruba at home, going outside, going to school. You can speak English in school. Pick a strategy. You can say at home, we're going to speak Yoruba at home. You know, pick that strategy. Another strategy you can pick is that every night before you sleep, you can decide to read Yoruba books to your children. I do that too because I don't have so many access to Yoruba. I translate their Yoruba, their Bible stories, I translate it to Yoruba for them. When they are doing bedtime stories, I translate the bedtime story. The book I have is in English. I translate it to Yoruba to them. The last one we're talking about, David and Goliath. Only David Omiron and Goliath Omiron. Through that, they got to know that giant is called Omiron. You know, so spear, everything, Oko, Ada, Ibo, and we tell the story in Yoruba. Pick a strategy that you know is good for you. You know, I translate books to Yoruba for them. If my daughter wants me to read books to them, I translate the book to Yoruba, teaching them how to speak Yoruba, because some of the things I don't cover, talking to them ordinarily, the book will cover it. So by reading the book, they know other things, you know. So I would have talked about Omiron if we're not talking about the story of David and Goliath. So what if pay giant in Yoruba, Omiron no man pay giant. So like that, we're able to get to that. So another thing I've seen parents to teach their children, another strategy they use is watching Yoruba movies, you know, watching Yoruba movies. I've seen people say, excuse me, I've seen people saying that their children watch African Magic Yoruba. Watch movies that, you know, I've watched Shaworide with my children. I've watched some of the Yoruba things with my children, you know, telling them this is the drum, go, 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 go. You know, when we're going through it, I tell them these things. So pick a strategy to teach your children. You have to have a strategy. But whatever strategy you pick, you can use even all the strategies together. You can, you know, you can be one language, one language, one person, family. You can be in a situation where everybody in your family speak the language. And another thing you can do is, you know, you can do all the strategy. The one person, they make it a family thing. Everybody in your family speaks Yoruba. You speak Yoruba at home. Read books to them in Yoruba, you know, and watch movies together. And whatever it is that you pick as a strategy, be consistent. The problem we have as parents is that today we teach them, tomorrow we forget. And that happens to me too. Sometimes I've already spoken English. I tell my children we speak Yoruba at home. Sometimes before I remember, I'm speaking English to them. So I'm quickly to bring myself back and say, oh, I'm quick to bring myself back and say, oh no, that's not what we want to be speaking. We want to be speaking Yoruba at home. Yoruba land Sunday, Yoruba land Sunday. I keep telling them Yoruba land Sunday. And when they come to me and say, I speak something in English, I say, they have to translate it to, you know, they have to switch to Yoruba. So I will say that the third one is to flood your children with Yoruba content. You know, we know we don't have enough resources in Yoruba, like we know that we're still working on our cartoons, getting better and all that. But flood your children with cartoons, flood them with Yoruba content, flood them, let them have, you know, let them have access to watch Yoruba cartoons. There are few of them on YouTube. YORUBANIMI has a TV where we teach children, where we have content that can teach your children to speak, you know, the alphabet, the numbers and all that. Let them watch it. There are some contents on YouTube that you can do a playlist with. Pick them different, and let them watch it. Flood your children with Yoruba content. It is not nice for you to say your children should speak Yoruba when you've not even taught them. They don't even know what to do. So let them watch those Yoruba content. Another thing is that reduce the amount of time your children spend watching English cartoon. I cannot overemphasize that. Because just putting them in front of cartoon, you know, English cartoon for 30 minutes, they've learned so much. If they are watching 30 minutes, make sure you are replacing with something that they can do for that 30 minutes learning in Yoruba. I do this strategy for my children. Before you can watch English cartoon, you must have watched 20 Yoruba content. You know? So 20, sometimes 10, depending on the days. Today now they've watched 20. Before I started this live session, my children have watched 20 Yoruba content, different cartoons that I've selected and I've compiled together, you know. I've selected them playlists that they can watch. So I don't know if anybody have a question at this point. If anybody have a question, put your question in the comment section and we're able to talk about it. If you have a question, put your question in the comment section. Okay, so another thing to do for your children is to motivate them. Motivate them. Motivate them. All of us are motivated one way or the other. There's something said before us that makes us to endure whatever we are going through. We see people living in Canada in the cold, you know, the weather, and they enjoy it because there's so many things they want to get, you know. They want a better life for themselves and all that. So there must be something we look forward to that motivates us to achieve whatever dream we want to achieve. Whenever going to university, you know, you want to sleep and you don't want to sleep. You either put your leg in the water so that you won't be able to sleep. You do something to help you so that you can achieve your dream. So give something to your children that can help them, that can serve as motivation for them to achieve their goals. Give them something to motivate them. And this motivation doesn't have to be something expensive. My children like chicken, you know, the grilled chicken. So I'll tell them that we can speak Yoruba from now to Friday. Friday night, we do, you know, chicken, barbecue chicken, grilled chicken, and we have 2 pieces. Ooh, once I said that, my son is like, oh, I love that. And they will start competing amongst themselves, coming to meet me. Mommy, am I saying it right? Mommy, am I doing it well? Mommy, am I doing that right? You know? So motivate your children. Look for something to motivate them. Look for something to motivate your children. The motivation doesn't have to be something of great value, so to speak, because children don't really know what it is that is of value. So give them something. If your children are little, give them something. You know your children better than I do. So give them something to motivate them. My children, you could be as little as, okay, the person that speaks Yoruba the most, because I give them points every day. The person that speaks Yoruba the most, on Friday we'll pick the movie we will watch. It could be something as little as that. If you speak Yoruba too much, you get a toy at the end of the month. So they keep motivating themselves to be they're motivated. They keep challenging themselves to be the best. Saying, Mommy, Mommy, they come to meet me and say, Mommy, Yoruba dada, so they are motivated and they want to learn. So look for something to motivate your children with. Give them an incentive to motivate them to want to learn the Yoruba language. All of us are motivated. There's something that's motivating us. So give your children that benefit of being motivated. Give them something to motivate your children. And you'll be glad you do, because once they're motivated, they can go the long length. They can go all the way to learn this Yoruba language. So having said that, another tip is to celebrate their success. Can you remember when your child first spoke the first language, the first word in English, whatever it is, their first word, maybe it's dada or maybe it's mama, the excitement you had. So when your children start speaking that Yoruba, encourage them, celebrate them, praise them. You know, when my children speak Yoruba, someone is really amazed at it. When I get to them, I say, do you see? You speak Yoruba, see how amazed that person is, you know? So I praise them, I praise them. Oh, I'm so happy today. You spoke Yoruba, you spoke it correctly. So speak, motivate them, celebrate their success as if it is their first word. You know, the way you celebrated their success when the way they celebrated their first word. Celebrate them anytime they speak Yoruba. Celebrate them, be glad. And another thing is that don't ever make fun of them. In our Yorubanimi course, Yoruba Speaking Made Easy course, I have a teenager. And in class, she speaks Yoruba. Whatever question I ask her, she responds in Yoruba. So I was talking to her mom, and the mom said she never speaks Yoruba at home. And I said, the mom, and I asked her, why don't you speak Yoruba? She said, because my mom will always make jest of me. There's nothing I say that she will not make jest of. You know, and that cuts her off from speaking it at home. So please, I beg you as parents, when our children were speaking English, we don't make jest of them. Then they call spaghetti, or whatever it is they call it. We don't make jest of them. We just correct them. It's not spaghetti, it's spaghetti. So the same way, do to your children when they speak English. When they speak Yoruba, I mean. When they speak Yoruba, don't make fun of them. I beg of you. When you make fun of them, you cut off that learning process. Nobody wants to be made fun of. Nobody wants to be made fun of. We don't like when people make jest of us, when people, you know, laugh at us. We don't like it. So when your children are doing their best to learn the language, and because they made a slip of tongue or they made a mistake in something, and you make it a big deal by making jest of them, laughing, and you know, they will just shut up. They will just shut down automatically. They don't want to learn anymore. Please, I beg you as parents, celebrate them. Even when they make mistakes, correct them gently. Oh, that's not how it's been said in Yoruba. But she man solely. Oya so telemi. So telemi. So that is it. The tip is that you must give them avenue to speak this language. If you don't give them avenue to speak it, they will never learn how to speak. They will never learn how to speak. Give them avenues to speak. Create rules for them to speak the Yoruba language. Even when they are making mistakes, be nudging. After, correct them. Let them say it and you correct them. And tell them to say it after you. That's the correct them gently. And let them have them repeat the words to you. So the correct one can suffer. Tell them, celebrate their success, and whatever it is they do, celebrate it. Don't make fun of them. Let them tell them the phrase and have them speak it back to you. The fourth, the sixth tip is get help, get support, get professional help. That's why we come in as Yorubanimi. We've created a course that is called Yoruba Speaking Made Easy for children to learn Yoruba, taking them from not speaking Yoruba at all to conversational fluency. Before I used to have a client, I spoke to her, bring your children to speak the Yoruba language, to our Yoruba Speaking Made Easy course. She said, no, Yoruba. I don't feel like she would pay for Yoruba. You remember when we were growing up, we learned to speak at home. The reading, the writing, the different ways, the proverbs were taught to us in school. And that's why Yorubanimi school has come in to fill the gap. Most schools don't teach Yoruba anymore. Most private schools don't teach Yoruba. Most schools don't teach at all. So the speaking, you can do it at home, but any other thing, the writing, the reading, and every other thing has to be done in a formal setting. And that's why Yorubanimi has come and to play that part. And when your children will seek help, seek professional help. The woman was telling me, I will do it by myself. Later, she brought her children to our program. And after she gave me feedback, wow, she didn't know, she had never thought about the things I taught them, how I broke it down, She had never thought about things like that because we take them what they need to do at home, even you, because you don't teach your children that speak it this way. We tell them what to say when you are eating, what you are saying when you are outside, when you say when you say to people, to elderly people, how you talk to elderly people, how you talk to younger ones, what you use for elderly, O for your friends. So we broke all those things down for them to understand. So it's not necessary that you have to be the one to speak at home. Yes, you can. But learn your other thing. You need help. Send a mail to yorubanimischoool@gmail.com. yorubanimischoool@gmail.com. yorubanimischoool, one word, @gmail.com. So as we close, I don't know if anybody has a question. If you have a question before we do a recap, if you have a question, put your question in it. Okay. I see Deborah say, can you please help out with some of this cartoon with Yoruba content? Okay. And the question is, can you please help out with some of these cartoons with Yoruba content? Yes. The first one is Yorubanimi. We have Yorubanimi TV. So you can watch on Yorubanimi TV. We have Culture Tree. If you are writing down, you can write it down. You have Culture Tree. We have ABD Yoruba. It's on YouTube. ABD Yoruba. We have Sotic TV Yoruba. If you just put it on the search button in YouTube and Yoruba cartoon, and you see so many cartoons coming up where you can take off, you can watch them and say, this is what I want my children to watch. And you can create a playlist where you save them. Do you understand? You just save them in a place where your children can watch. You can just play for them for like 30 minutes. That's what I did. I searched Yoruba cartoon or Yoruba for children. Yoruba cartoon for children. You put it on the search button of YouTube and it brings out so many Yoruba things. You do a playlist where you can, where your children can watch as many times as possible. With that, you're able to give them Yoruba content, to flood them with Yoruba content. So you can go on YouTube and search Yoruba cartoon, and you see so many of them coming out. So you can now pick them, save them in another place. Save them, maybe save them in what later. You can create a folder on your YouTube channel, or your YouTube channel. You create a folder where you can save all these things. So you can save them as you are seeing them, you are saving them in that place. So whenever your children want to watch Yoruba, they just go to that folder that has been saved, a playlist that has been saved, and they can watch. That is why my children have like over 30 or thereabout, then they can watch, pick and watch. So with that, one day to just give the testimony, one day my daughter just said, Mommy, ti lọ sí ilé ìjọsìn. Ó ti pẹ́ tá ti lọ sí ilé ìjọsìn. I was like, ilé ìjọsìn. She learns it from the Yoruba thing I've gathered, from different places where I put a playlist where they can learn from. So if you are here, you can do something like that for your children to give them so many things to learn from. There's Yoruba, Abidi Yoruba, there's Sodic TV Yoruba, whatever it is, you will get it. Once you just put it in the search button, and Yoruba cartoon or Yoruba content, it will show Yoruba cartoon basically. It will show so many things for you to pick from. Okay. I don't know if any other person have any question. Okay. If you do not have any question, I'll just do the quick recap. Today, we talked about the tips on how to teach our children Yoruba. We talked about, first, there's a need for us to know our why. If you know our why, it will help us to be committed and persistent, because sometimes you feel like giving up. It's a long journey. So when you have your why, as a parent, you must have your why, you must know your why, so that it will help your commitment. It will help you to even talk to your children that this is what I want to achieve, this is what we're achieving together. Okay, having said that, pick a strategy. Pick a strategy. It could be just you teaching your children Yoruba. I used to joke in it, that is mother tongue. Yeah, I'm the mother. I will teach them how to speak Yoruba. It could just be you. It could be that you set a family and say everybody in this family must speak Yoruba. It could be that you read books to them. It could be that you watch TV, Yoruba TV with them. So whatever it is that is your strategy, stick with it. The most important thing is for you to be committed to that strategy. The third one is to flood them with Yoruba content. Yoruba song. When you're going to church, you're driving in the car, let Yoruba song be playing. At home, let them listen to Yoruba song. By that, it increases their vocabulary. Let them listen to Yoruba song, let them watch Yoruba movie, read Yoruba story for them, do and play role. Like, okay, you are the mommy, one the daddy. Okay, come share, just a small play. You can just say, okay, take a one daddy, one mommy, and we are speaking Yoruba. So with that, they tend to use the language often. You have to create an avenue for them to use the language. Let them learn and let them speak Yoruba to you. There's no way they will learn if you don't insist they speak Yoruba back to you. It's fine if they don't know what to say. Tell them what to say, but have them repeat it to you. The fourth one is to motivate your children. Give them something to motivate them. It doesn't have to be something expensive. It could be like, oh, if you speak Yoruba from Monday to Friday, on Sunday, we'll go to the cinema. We'll just go and watch movies. So like that, motivate them with something, let them have something to look forward to. Yoruba, praise them, be happy whenever they speak and they converse in Yoruba with you. Be happy with them, celebrate their success. Don't ever make fun of them. Don't ever make fun of them. And the last tip is to get help. Get help. I've seen people say I can do it before. We did not learn Yoruba all at staying at home. We got schools that taught us Yoruba. We learned Yoruba in schools. That is what Yorubanimi has come to do for everyone. Your children can learn Yoruba in a formal setting. That's curriculum that has been developed to take a beginner from not speaking Yoruba at all to conversational fluency. Breaking it down for them, telling them what to do at a particular time, how to say everything they need to say, everything they need to say in Yoruba, how you relate to parents, how you relate to the siblings, the culture, the geographical location of Yoruba people, and what to say in the morning, what to say in the afternoon, what to say in the night, how you greet and all that. There's a curriculum that has been made for you to learn. If you're interested in learning, we start another one in October. If you're interested in learning, you can just send a mail to yorubanimischoool@gmail.com. YORUBANIMISCHOOL. I'm going to leave it in the comments. YORUBANIMISCHOOL. YORUBANIMISCHOOL. YORUBANIMISCHOOL, one word, @gmail.com. You can send us a mail I'll be glad to respond to you with that. I don't still know if you have any question, please ask the question. If you have any question to ask, please ask your question, as I'm willing to answer every question. Please give your question. I'm willing to answer all the questions. If you have any questions, let me know the questions you have, and we're able to answer all the questions. Okay? If you do not have any question, I want you to just leave a comment of what you've learned in this session, what you've learned, what did you learn going through this session. Just leave a comment. I learned this. I learned this. What is it that you've learned during this session? Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming. I'm so excited that you are interested in teaching your children to learn to speak Yoruba. It's a journey. Don't give up. And together, we can preserve this beautiful Yoruba language. But before we go, we're going to sing our song, Ama Korin Wa. Yorubanimi, Yorubaniye, Yorubaniwa. Inú mi dùn pé Yorùbá ni mí, Yorùbá ni mí, Yorùbá ni ẹ́, Yorùbá ni wá. Inú mi dùn pé Yorùbá ni mí. Ó dàbọ̀.